Kristen Andre, founder and chief strategist of Andre Consulting Group. I founded my company almost 10 years ago because I love helping people not only succeed, but thrive in their careers and their lives. So many times I meet amazing people who have so much more potential than what they're utilizing. As I engage with them, there seems to be a common theme: the limits they place on themselves. Throughout this podcast series, we're going to visit some incredible people who have created more intentional lives for themselves, those who've had that no limits moment where they chose to grow and they put things in motion to help them do so. We'll focus on how you can break through limits, we'll equip you with strategies to help you lead a more intentional life, and we'll have a lot of fun along the way. So let's dive in. Hi, everyone, and welcome to No Limits with Kristen Andre. We are here today with Stefanie Jewett, who is the CEO and founder of Activvely. So I'm super excited to have you here.
I am very excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
No problem. So we had the opportunity to meet at a networking event because you're part of a group of women who've launched companies and founded companies here in Atlanta that are kind of like, honestly, that group, it takes a lot to get into that.
Yes.
You guys are supposed to be like the up-and-comers and like some good businesses coming out of there.
The City of Atlanta's Women's Entrepreneurship Initiative, or WE for short. Yeah, the only city-backed female incubator in the nation.
I think that's awesome because, I work with a lot of women executives and women business owners, and you've got to find your group of people. So the fact that Atlanta, kudos to Atlanta and to WE and the executive director there. You guys have some great businesses. They accept how many a year?
So I think there was hundreds of applications, and I didn't want to say the exact, I don't remember how many, but 15 women with businesses under 3 years old get 15 months of free rent in the most beautiful Flatiron building in downtown Atlanta. We're on the 11th floor. It is so beautiful and so impressive. And when you are just a new business and you're starting out, in particular as a woman, and bringing people to the office, you have a conference room that you can reserve, and people are always impressed. It just lends you an air of credibility. And then you just get access to very high level. Our board has got amazing people, Grace Fricks from Home Depot and Kat Cole. And you get to hear and learn firsthand from their experiences, and their companies just put you in the right places. That's
what I thought was so cool about it when I first learned of it is, a lot of times you think of an incubator as a bunch of people. It's people coming together to help. But a lot of times it's new people helping new people and trying to figure it out together. They have literally brought the best of the best in to help you guys develop these companies.
We'd like to think so.
I think it was cool. So, all right. So you did, before we get into Activvely and what you guys do, you have quite a very cool background. You didn't start out in, building apps or developing companies.
Not at all.
All right. So tell us a little bit about tell us about you. What is Stefanie? Where'd she come from? What does she do? All that kind of stuff.
I was born on a cold January night, so obviously, which is actually true, but that's notwithstanding. So actually, my background is nothing to do with entrepreneurship or technology. I am a former CNN producer, and I started here in Atlanta, and I worked with Rick Sanchez and then Brooke Baldwin, and then the DC bureau wanted to relaunch Crossfire with Van Jones and Newt Gingrich and Stephanie Cutter and S.E. Cupp. So they wanted some producers to come up there and help relaunch it. I moved to DC, and it was a great experience. And all the things that you learn as a journalist just prepare you for entrepreneurship in ways that you can't imagine. So much of entrepreneurship and building an app is learning on the fly. There's just nonstop information you just don't know. And being able to digest it, to understand it, to find it, and to find it accurately, I think is one of the biggest parts of the steepness of the curve in being successful.
So, I would assume you had to do that a lot as a producer.
Nonstop.
And CNN that's a big network. This was not a small potatoes thing here.
No, and before elections, you cover, because now the news is consumed by generally a few topics. But before, you were covering everything from Justin Bieber to Syria to, Ferguson. You just covered one of the first days I ever sat in the control room. I had never been in a control room, and I was just supposed to be training, and the Arab Spring was happening in Egypt. And they were like, well, some producer called out that's supposed to train you. You're in the hot seat. Roll.
Oh, goodness.
And this is like prime time. The CNN red phone is ringing.
Oh, geez.
The head of CNN calls from New York when they don't like something and it's breaking news. And that's the only person that's going to call.
It's like the bat phone and the thing. Oh, wow.
And you just have to figure it out on the fly. You cannot mess this up. Like, go. You've never done this, and get it. Do it right.
I never really thought, I didn't realize there was a bat phone in the news producer's room. But I mean, it is true. It moves very fast. I have, friends and people in that industry, not in politics or CNN, but more on the sports arena. And you do have to kind of prepare and be able to move on a dime and have stuff ready. So I could see how that would prepare you.
You really do. And you find out how resourceful you are. And then you field produce, or even if you're in the building and you're shooting, a different stand-up with your anchor, and they're like, well, this is ugly, we need to move this, or we need to find somebody to talk to us. You were just, now what? You have only like a few minutes, like make it happen.
To go find somebody.
Whatever it is that you have to do, you have a very small window, like, to get it done and do it right.
All right, so that teaches you scrappiness,
yes,
for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so is that where you kind of got your spark to just kind of go for things and just make things work?
No, I wish I could say that.
Okay.
But it was because of CNN that led me to create Activvely. So when CNN relocated me to the DC bureau, here in Atlanta, we have we have 3,000 employees residential at the world headquarters under the big CNN red letters.
Right.
We have a private Turner gym. So I get out of work at 4 p.m. in Atlanta every day. I work out with all my coworkers. I'm in great shape. I had 6-pack abs.
You've got your everything. Yeah.
And then when they relocated me to DC, now I get out of work significantly later. Now it's 8:30, 9 p.m. by the time you're even finishing up your work and preparing for the next day. All your friends have already worked out. Everybody's already home or at happy hour. And you're like, I don't want to work out alone. It's late. I'm in a big city. I have to take 4 metro stops. And I was like, why is it so difficult to find other people? And that was really when I first realized, like, how can it be this hard? And this was like 2015. I was like, how could it be this hard to find a cool girl to just run with me so I don't have to run alone?
Right. Right. So you're not
in a big, scary
yourself.
city. Yeah. Or how can I just find somebody to meet me at the gym? We don't even have to be best friends, but just like some kind of, and there was nothing available.
So your business and your app came out of really a necessity or desire for you personally.
Absolutely. And then my boyfriend moved to DC with me, and he is a faithful gym goer. It's like his stress relief. And he would work out with me by default, and he'd be looking at the guys lifting weight and grunting and throwing, protein shakes in the ground and just being total meatheads. And he's like, I'm stuck working out with you. No offense.
No offense, but yeah, exactly.
And I asked, why can't you just work out with him? He's like, dudes, don't do that. It's weird. So
okay,
so
because you can't. That would be weird. Like, hey, can I come work out? I could see that.
Can you just change your entire routine and let me be a part of it?
Yeah. Right, I could see that. Okay, so fast forward. Tell us about Activvely.
So once I realized that this was something I really wanted to do, and I used my journalistic skills and researched the market, and there was nothing really out there with any kind of traction. Okay, nothing that was like the ubiquitous platform or thing to use. So I decided that it was time to take a chance and figure out. I didn't even know what code was, and that's so shameful.
Yeah, I don't either.
I did not even know what a language on a computer did or was or anything. So I started going to a couple of like intro. What is mobile app development? I had no clue, and then decided I was going to move back to Atlanta and build it here.
Okay.
And I loved Atlanta, and it was just like the perfect city, the world's busiest airport.
Yep.
Up and coming. So I moved back. I took coding classes and learned enough, but realized I'm not the world's greatest programmer or developer, but I learned enough to help me find and hire people to build and work with me and how to really do the process.
Yeah. All right. So to describe Activvely for those of you guys that aren't familiar, and this is from all right, I'll give you my kind of view of what it is it's online dating for fitness people, and not dating. It's more like the swiping, because I'm not an online dater. But I have friends that are, so that's how they meet people. They go online, they look at some profiles, like this looks good. Let's swipe whichever way you swipe if you're saying yes. So that's kind of what is in my head in terms of Activvely, which I'm like, that's kind of cool for the fitness world. So how would you describe it?
So the easiest way to describe it is Tinder. For platonic.
See, there we go. That's where
buddies.
I was going. The online date. Okay.
But always emphasizing the platonic.
Absolutely.
Because I know the first impression and the connotation that Tinder might have, but it's the easiest way to understand how do you match with people who share your common interest. And the cool thing about the app is that we help you find all kinds of friendly people. If you're on the app, you want to meet other people who have similar interests and are in your area. You get to set the age range, the distance, how far from where you are, and the genders, guys, girls, or it doesn't matter. So you're only ever going to see the person that you want to see. If I only want to work out with somebody who's 35 to 55 and she's a woman and 5 miles from me, that's all I'm ever going to see.
Got it. Okay.
So,
and then does it tell what type of workout?
Absolutely. You set the activities, and you also tell us a little bit about you, like what are your fitness goals? Is it just be more active? Is it something specific, like reach a 200-pound, bench press, whatever? And you'll find people who share that commonality.
Okay. That's kind of cool.
Thank you.
So it just kind of matches you with somebody that pops up, and then it allows you to converse with that person
once you both like each other. So there is all these added, ways to constantly make sure that you only see and interact with people that you want. So you both have to match with each other, and then you can have a conversation.
Oh, very cool. So the idea is you're finding your workout buddy.
Absolutely.
So was your boyfriend able to find people to work out with?
He's found several at the forum, like through the app. He goes to the forum at Pond City Market. And he loves it.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. So what have been some of the fun stories you've heard out of the users you've had so far? Because I think that's kind of neat. Like my head, like you're talking Atlanta and where they live, but I do a lot of speaking, and I travel for speaking engagements. I'm not the most fitness oriented person, but I would assume that some of my girlfriends who speak as well that are traveling a lot would love to be like, hey, I'm in Chicago. Let me see if I can find somebody to go run with me.
Absolutely.
Because they're going to be very unlikely to just get out by themselves in a city they don't know.
No, that was even, so I've heard people tell me that they've actually become like friends with people, not just a one and done workout. They're actually like friends with people, and that they've just had experiences where they were expecting one situation that's become like, we text all the time, we meet each other consistently. So that's been really, and people that said they were really shy, like I would have never tried this, I would have never done this, but they attend also, we have events in Atlanta.
Oh, very neat.
And creating a space that maybe you're a bit bashful and don't want to meet one-on-one to start. So we have Activvely events where you can come, and it's like 70 to 100 people.
Oh, very cool.
We'll do like a yoga series with a live DJ and different music every week, 90s or 2000s or whatever you're into. And then it's a great way to meet people in person first in the safe designated area.
Very neat. I like that a lot. So it takes the scariness out of doing it. I mean, I feel like scary. Some people I think just exercise to exercise and they just kind of get in it. But I'm more of a social exerciser, it is not, believe me, it is not my strength, the fitness routine. However, if there's a social component in it, I'm much more apt to do it. So it's intriguing because I'm like, okay, if I would, am I going to go run by myself or walk by myself? Probably not. But if I found somebody that would do it, that had some common interest.
And I think when you're an entrepreneur or you're in corporate world and you're just so busy and you travel all the time, what's the first thing to get knocked off your to-do list?
Oh, definitely.
Like, am I going to do 3 more hours of work that everybody's demanding and I need to do, and my kids want this, or am I going to go work out for an hour? Like, the workout's got to go. Yeah.
And I would assume with Activvely, there's a kind of like an accountability component too, because if you've got a buddy, you got to show up.
And all the studies show that, all the scientific findings, that people, not only do they hold each other accountable, they actually work out harder. Even if you're already a fit person, having somebody that is also fit lends a very friendly competition, and people push themselves harder as a result.
I could see that. Awesome. All right. So that is, after the break, we're going to talk a little bit more, because I love the concept of Activvely, but we're going to take a short break. When we come back, I want to dive into more how this app and your company is helping people address that time when they're by themselves and getting a little lonely. So we'll take a break. We'll be right back. Hey everyone, it's Kristen. Be sure and visit my website at www.andregroup.com. That's www.andreegroup.com. And while you're there, be sure to download my white paper, Top 10 Reasons Your Business Isn't Growing Fast Enough. Now get out there and create your no limits moment. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to No Limits with Kristen Andre. We are here with Stefanie Jewett, who is the founder and CEO of Activvely. And before the break, we were talking about your app, which is super cool, which is, as we described it, the Tinder for platonic fitness relationships.
Platonic
I got platonic in there first.
Thank you.
We want to make sure we get that. We're not swiping on anything inappropriate here. All right, so the app is active right now, but you guys have some big stuff coming.
Absolutely. So we have our very basic model. It's called our MVP, your minimum viable product.
Okay.
And that's very like by design in tech. You put out the most basic version of your app to see if people like it, if there's product market fit before you spend like $100,000 and really grow into whatever kind of business you want.
Okay.
So we're getting ready to launch a really, really, really beautiful new version of the app December 27th or 28th. Ahead of the new year and everyone's New Year's resolutions, where you realize, hey, I'm not in the shape that I want to be in. Maybe my social life, I'm not out, I'm not exploring, and I'm not trying the new hobbies and things that I've always wanted to do. This is a great way to do it in a very low pressure way.
Ooh, and I'm guilty of that, and that. Okay. So December 27th, 28th. I like that. So it is the time that everybody's starting to think about, all right, New Year's resolutions and all kind of stuff like that. So
absolutely.
All right. So the app will be live. Everybody should check it out. Now, what's really cool about it, you mentioned that it takes a lot to fund an app. And we were talking earlier about the Women's Entrepreneur Initiative Entrepreneurship Initiative that Atlanta's funding, the city of Atlanta.
Yeah.
So you'd mentioned some interesting statistics to me a bit ago about the number of entrepreneurs in Atlanta. So tell us a little bit about the city and kind of what they've done to support you guys.
So first and foremost, the city of Atlanta has one of the highest rates of entrepreneurship amongst, we're number 3 in the nation for women and minority entrepreneurs launching businesses.
Very cool. Okay.
And then being supported by initiatives like and all these other ATDC, all these different entities that are very much invested, the Chamber of Commerce. They really want to see wins and they want to see more people starting businesses and really excelling. So they're creating opportunities for us to be in rooms and spaces that as an entrepreneur by yourself without their support, you really couldn't have access and grow. Yeah.
And I know the goal when I've heard them talk before was to create jobs, is to have, people employ other people and citizens of Atlanta.
Yeah,
and to help create
absolutely.
jobs.
And it's not just you help one person and their business does well and they make money. They are, like you said, they're spurring the economy. They're hiring other people.
Yep.
Those people are all spending money in the city of Atlanta. It's just, really great opportunities. And when you're in spaces like you hire each other's services. Like we're all very unique, different businesses.
Yes.
Everything from marketing to another technology company so you're like, hey, this is what you're doing. I know that you're a good and reputable human being. Like I'd love to hire your services and vice versa.
Right. So you get to know people, which is good. All right. So let's dive into the entrepreneurship piece for a minute, because it relates a lot to your app in the way that entrepreneurship is lonely.
Yes, it is.
It's not the easiest thing. And I know when I launched my firm 9 years ago, there were days where, especially when you're first starting, the person you're talking to all day is you.
Yes.
And, sometimes you talk back, sometimes you don't. Most days I did, but it can get lonely. I mean, it's tough.
Lonely. And I would say when you're new to entrepreneurship and you've never been in I didn't know anybody in technology. I didn't know a single entrepreneur when I left CNN. And I remember how nervous I was. I used to sit in meetings of 40 people and talk and pitch your ideas like it was nothing. And then I joined Switch Yards in the beginning, and I had to speak in front of 12 women and introduce who I am. And my voice cracked and I was shaking from nerves. Yeah. Because you're just so siloed and lonely and isolated. And it's, how do you really get involved back in the community or in a community? Yeah. So that is something that Activvely is looking to address, and not just for entrepreneurship, but for the general population. So some of the stuff that we were talking about, and this is, I didn't realize when I launched Activvely that this was really going to be my mission. I thought helping people get fit and be fit and find friends. Yep. And when I started researching like why this matters, and I keep seeing statistics, and the numbers are really intense, that amongst millennials and Gen Z, 2 of the most connected generations, arguably of all time. Yeah, absolutely. They have access to everyone in the world on their phone, and they have the highest rates of loneliness, isolation, depression, and anxiety, more than the elderly, more than people living in senior facilities. So there's something happening where for all this, the ways that technology has made our lives simpler, it's still not easier to meet people. And the piece that really strikes me is that social media is not to blame, but social media is a tool that allows you to think, to feel, in theory, as if you're connected. But liking someone's Facebook post and dropping 3 fire emojis on someone's avocado toast is not a substitute
good avocado toast.
For getting together and having a drink or a cup of coffee or a workout and having human interaction.
And it's true. At the end of the day, it is about the true connection. And we try to connect with people online. I mean, that's a big thing in social media and marketing circles is you need to connect with your followers, not just post or talk at them. But it is an online connection. It's we were talking about that earlier, when you first got here was there's so many people we know online, and then like a few years later you meet them, you feel like you know their whole story.
Yes.
But there's something about, grabbing a drink or grabbing breakfast or, having that avocado toast in person that builds the community a little bit.
And I would say when you get a chance to really meet people, what are some of the things that make it intimidating? Some of the things that make it scary when you're like, oh, I just have to, how do I meet people?
Yeah.
But if you go to walk the Beltline with another woman, or guys, if you go for a round of golf, you're here for a short, limited amount of time. Yep. You know what you're here for, and you obviously have some kind of commonality.
Right.
So now you have something to talk about. Now it's less scary because you know what? If you didn't love this person, at the end of your run, hey girl, nice to meet you, bye, bye, and you never have to see them again.
Right.
But if you like each other, because the things that breed friendship are common interest and repeated interaction. Like science, like the psychology is.
Yeah.
That's why you're friends with coworkers.
Yeah.
You have something in common and you see each other every day.
Well, all right. So that really makes sense. And I've never heard it phrased that way. So common interest and repeated interaction
are the things that breed friendship.
That's a really good point. So, and that's what we don't get online.
Absolutely.
We really don't. You may have common interest, but you don't always know that online. And the interaction isn't face to face, eyeball to eyeball.
And, I love Bumble. They have when you push a button and it becomes, instead of a dating app for women and to find, or men have to approach women first and have to like them, but they also have Bumble BFF, and you push a button and you can find friends. And in theory, it sounds great, except that now you and I want to be, friends, but now it's BFF, so there's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And then what do you do with another
We're
friend
meeting weirdly for coffee? Yeah.
And how long do you hang out? And what do you talk about? So those are the things you're like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do. You know what? This is just too intense. Yeah. I'm not going to do this. Never mind.
Right.
But we're going to give you a very easy, something you want to get better at.
Yeah.
And you find somebody of your skill set. If you're just learning to lift, or, you're only lifting a little bit of weight, probably don't pair with the bodybuilder.
But you just mentioned walking the Beltline, which is a nice outdoor walking trail here in Atlanta, which is fantastic. And golf. So those are both exercises. But when I first was thinking, I was like, all right, maybe this is just go to the gym, but it's not. I mean, there's a lot of different activities that you could match with.
And 2 of the ones that we're adding are, we're going to add dog walking buddies. So if you just, just don't want to walk your dog alone, or, people who love their dogs want to be around other people who love their dogs.
Right.
And then the other one that we're adding in January, or at the end of December, is a Fit Fam. We have a lot of moms who want to push their strollers together, want to be active, and dads who I see all the time out and around the city. They're running and pushing the baby stroller. So maybe you don't have to do those things alone, because having a busy schedule, having kids can be isolating as well, because your whole life is consumed with work and chores and diapers and running kids back and forth.
I'm really intrigued now, because I will definitely get on the app, which is cool. Because but I'm thinking, for somebody like me who enjoys fitness, but I'm very specific in what I like. I was doing martial arts for a while. I took about a year. Yeah. I know I took about a year off, so I'm not as cool as I used to be. But that's a big interest for me. But aside from that, when I think about working out, my brain automatically goes, I don't want to go to the gym, because I don't want to go to the gym. I just am not a gym person. But there's so much other ways to be active and to be
hiking,
fit.
Biking.
Yeah.
And even we have X3 studios in Atlanta that are all about MMA, martial arts, jujitsu, whatever you're into. And they're very good friends of ours. So we're going to host, actively meetups at hey, noon on Saturday. All these Activvely people, if you're interested, just go in, and everyone's friendly and everyone's here to just have a great workout and meet other people. So no pressure. You don't have to be the weird person. Yeah. I'm always very ashamed.
And that's part of it. Because if you're trying to check out something new, you don't want to be that person.
Oh my God, the worst. Painful for me.
And I think women are worse than that. Maybe the guys are worse too, but I'm like, come on, I'm dragging a friend. I'm the drag a friend girl anytime you have to find something new.
Every time I try a new studio on ClassPass, I'm like, oh, I'm going to be the worst person.
Right.
I'm not going to be as good and fit as everybody.
Yeah.
And you let that narrative take over, and you're like, you know what, I'm just not going to do this.
Right.
But knowing that you're not alone.
Yeah. I love it. I'm very intrigued by
Thank
it.
you.
So I think, so what's been the most rewarding thing so far about where you've gotten to? I know the app's going to get a lot bigger and better very, very soon. What's the most rewarding thing you've seen
I've
thus
met
far?
so many people, and the affirmation, the validation that this, like across all metrics, like I don't care what race you are, what your job is, what industry, people want to connect so much.
Yeah.
And I see it because we've hosted 20 something events across the city of Atlanta. And it's always the same. We force you to shake hands with two people around you that you'd never talk to.
Yeah.
And they'll come back week after week and they're like, hey, great to see you. I bumped into them at the movies. Just seeing
neat. Okay.
when you take away what's scary and that thing in our mind, and studies have shown that people perceive having to meet someone new as scarier than it actually is, and they enjoy it significantly more.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's that first initial, hey, how are you? I mean, it's, that happens. And the shaking hands with two people is funny because the church I go to, they're always like, turn around and greet your neighbors. I will look down. I will tie my shoe. I'll have to get something out of my purse. And I'm pretty darn extroverted, but it's that initial awkward, hey, how are you?
You're on a yoga mat with us on the floor. There is nowhere to hide. We're in tight quarters.
That's true, though. But if you could take the scariness out of that initial meeting, and this, it sounds like a really neat way to do that.
And then just my main takeaway, like it gives me so much joy to see human beings connect. When human beings get to connect, you feel love and friendship and joy and excitement, and so much good comes from positive interactions that we're so starved for.
We are so starved for that. Okay, we're going to take a short break. I love it. So I'm ready to check this out. So when we come back, we're going to dive into how you guys listening can get involved, and we'll give you a little challenge that you can do around this whole fitness and involvement and connection piece. So we'll be right back. Hey everyone, check out my podcast, No Limits with Kristen Andre, on Tuesday nights at 7:30. We will tackle the things holding you back and the limits you set on yourself and equip you with some strategies to lead more intentional lives. Podcast launches every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. on facebook.com/Andre Group. That's facebook.com/ANDREE Group. We'll see you there. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to No Limits with Kristen Andre. We are wrapping up our time with Stefanie Jewett of Activvely, and we were talking before the break about your really cool app. So I'm excited, especially with the new stuff coming, because it takes the scariness out of meeting people. And like I told you, I need a social component personally for exercising, just because I just have more fun with friends, and
Same.
When I started, the reason I stuck with martial arts is because my girlfriends that were in class with me, it was just fun, and it ended up being a great thing. I learned a lot, but taking
got your black belt.
I got my, I got my black belt. So was taking that first step though, trying to figure out, all right, how do we get started? How do we stick with it and everything? So I would encourage everybody listening, y'all got to check out this Activvely. So anywhere, no matter where they live?
So we're currently focused on Atlanta.
Awesome.
Technically, the app works anywhere, but we've only done marketing in Atlanta, and that will be the way it is for probably the next 3 or 4 months, and then we're going national. Like that, all of this new app rolling out will be here, marketing, but it'll work everywhere. So please download.
Yeah,
and then
definitely.
And then we're gonna go nationwide, city to city, starting I believe in Colorado, and then DC is what we kind of have on the radar, like people, like cities that are into.
Awesome. All right. So we're going to have to download the app Activvely, and it's with 2 V's.
Activvely with 2 V's,
Activvely
y'all.
with 2
Yes,
V's.
please.
So, all right. Now, here's the fun part.
Okay.
Because we got to take all this stuff. I am very big. I'm a strategy person. So I'm
too.
big on making sure you do something with all this cool stuff that you've told them. And, we've talked about exercising. We've talked about connecting with people and just trying to do stuff so we're not going it alone.
Yes.
So every episode we issue a challenge to our listeners, and we have a group on Facebook. It's at #NoLimitsMoment, and that's where we share all of our stuff, and we get to talk about the challenges we post each week. The group gets to interact. We really want to build community around it, people pushing past these limits. So Stefanie Jewett, what are we going to challenge our listeners with this week?
So your challenge, and maybe for 2019, is to take one small, tiny step to try something that you always wanted to do or wish you did more of, but not to do it alone. There are studies that show time and time again that if you do something with someone, an activity, fitness, you're more likely to stick with it. And you're actually going to have more fun. And we've been told this narrative that fitness has to be terrible and grueling. And certainly it's going to be hard work.
Right.
But when you have someone like you mentioned, it makes it so much more fun.
Yeah.
And then as far as trying things, I have no background in technology or business or any of this. What I would say to you is when you try something, it doesn't have to be a giant step, a giant leap. It can be one tiny step. But when you try one tiny step, you signed up for the Facebook group, you went to one class on ClassPass, you said hello to someone, God, the universe, whatever you believe in, honors that action.
Yes.
And things come your way and people show up and they're friendly and they want to help you.
Yeah.
And then you take one more tiny step and more doors open and more people show up. And it's just one tiny step. Don't let it overwhelm you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the scariest one is the first one though.
And it doesn't even have to be like, oh, tomorrow you have to be a black belt. But show up for the class. Maybe you just watched the class the first time and then gave it a go and tried a free class.
So even whatever the step is.
Whatever that one step is.
But I like the component of doing it with someone though.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because it was, I mentioned this to you during the break, and those of you guys that listen a lot know with my martial arts training, I started it because my daughter was doing it, and because they let all mothers train free during May. And so the ones of us that were kind of being lazy and just sitting in the chair were like, it was a great marketing ploy for sure. But we're like, yeah, we'll take a class for the month of May. But it was the friendships we formed during the class. Our instructor, Master Burns, is fantastic. And it was great.
And
like,
it led to several of you getting black belts from just not even doing it.
And honestly, I'm having dinner Friday night with a group of them. So not only was it the training and the fitness and the black belt, it was the fact that we formed some great friendships. I mean, some of my closest friends, my absolute closest friend is from that group. So yeah, you don't ever know.
And as intimidated as you feel, or as lonely or isolated, like, oh, I don't want to do this alone. Somebody doesn't want to do it alone either.
Right.
So like, just go and you're in a class or you're doing something together. It's a short limited time.
Yeah.
It'll be over before you know it if you didn't love it, but chances are you will like it and you'll have a great time and have a great friend come out of it.
So the first step is figuring out what it is you want to do.
Absolutely.
And then you gotta recruit a friend, or use the app to find a friend if you don't have
Ideally, you download Activvely spelled with 2 V's.
Exactly. That would be the best place.
It's free. Yeah.
But and that's even better. So I think that's a great one. I'm going to download it. I think it's good. I haven't figured out what my little, I know. I'm going to come to some of the meetups. I'm excited. We'll have to do that. So awesome. Well, Stefanie, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Best of luck with the app. I don't think you're going to need luck. You got the tenacity.
Wow.
This is coming. It's going to be all across the nation soon. I feel pretty good. So awesome. Well, our challenge today, again, guys, is to take that one step, find something that you want to do, and drag somebody to do it with you. Not drag somebody, I guess I should say. Have somebody come with you so you guys can both do it together. Download the Activvely app with 2 V's. And until next time, guys, keep pushing past those limits. Take care.